Today's video will be a bit of a trip down memory lane as we go through the original campaign. This, however, is not just a playthrough of the original campaign. It is, in fact, a speed run by Peka, clocking in about 27 minutes and 27 seconds over a 4-segmented run. This is, to my knowledge, the first fully complete, or if not the first fully complete, the fastest known speed run for the existing campaign. This campaign has largely not been changed since about 2015. So we're going to go over what's happening in each of the maps. Very quickly, I am going to describe as the designer of these maps what is intended, and then we're going to see what exploits or changes Peka makes to get through. You naturally start over here as this paladin. He has a modifier on him that means that he cannot break down this front gate. You are supposed to move all the way after learning how to attack and click. You are supposed to attack, click these back rocks, move all the way back over here through the area where you go up into the forge that masquerades as a house for the purpose of going ahead and unlocking your abilities again. That will destroy that back wall over there. Now we're going to see if Peka is in fact going to destroy, and does. Peka is going to destroy these. It's going to destroy these cell doors. The destruction of the cell doors is responsible for killing an airship that is giving a modifier that is making these units less effective. These he's leaving behind, these archers, which is interesting to note. It probably wouldn't take much time to go ahead and actually kill them. However, the DPS that the archers provide is somewhat negligible in comparison to these soldiers. Also, your paladin here is quite tanky, clocking it at over 50 more hit points, 1 more armor, and swinging a somewhat beefier of a sword, plus 3 damage compared to normal. You may notice that these values are not appropriate for AA4, aka version 4.3.2, which is the current ranked balance that we are on right now, here in the time of recording this video. However, since this is an older campaign and the data was frozen to prevent it from being all mucked up, courtesy of the developers, this is what we have to work with. Now it remains to be seen, will he free everyone that he possibly can? It looks like he does, and freeing that means that he gets access to not 1 but 2 archers. He recollects all of the archers and he's going to move on. From here there is a cell door that can be broken by the paladin, who is up to this point unnamed and merely says that honor is my guide, it itself being a reference to the zealots from StarCraft Brood War that says, honor guide me on occasion whenever it is moved. Rather than go ahead here and engage these units in the back, it looks like the paladin is going ahead and moving forward. This also means that he has missed the opportunity to spot one of the 3 journal entries of the page, but since this is any % segmented run, we're going to see this just be a zippy, fast-moving paladin. You get a little bit of control issues right there, and it looks like the paladin is moving on. Notice that he is not interested in engaging in all of the fights, and if we look at hover text, the airship departures go up, and the barracks and medical go down. Yep, Peka even admits that it's a time loss, and brings over some of the extra soldiers that are naturally spawned. That could be a little bit cleaner, but again, no need to invalidate Peka's quite excellent speed run. There is a story component here to seeing all the wolves trapped on this prison island. This prison island is actually called Wren Isle. It is a prison, hence Wren, and then it is an isle because most prisons for people that you don't want to escape naturally go in places that are geographically segregated or geographically distanced from normal points. You can think of Napoleon. You can also think of examples where people are, quote, shipped to Antarctica, etc. But he's not interested in engaging all of these units. He just wants to get off of here, and he loads up into the airship and moves over. It is actually debatable whether or not the airship is necessary. The airship does have a secondary rock that it could go down and to the right in order to go ahead and explore that area, but it's going to follow the trail all the way over here to the top right-hand corner, where it is then going to win. The win con for this, I believe, is actually the airship hitting over here, whether or not the paladin actually lives. And though, there we go, with elimination, that is 357, and that is the first, yes, 356, possibly 357. So, now we're going to go on to the second of the speed run. This is going to be mission 2, Waterwood. It's going to be done in 5:05 or thereabouts by Peka. So here's the story thus far, since we didn't get much of an opportunity to explain it. The paladin has been locked inside Wren Isle, which is the prison area from the previous mission, because he was put there by the usurper Fabius. Fabius is being someone who is just kind of, usurped the lawful authority of the individuals of the realm, and since the paladin had something to say about that, Fabius had some place to put the paladin. Normally what you're supposed to do with these units, now that you're here in Mission 2, the Waterwood, is to go ahead, grab all of the units, and then get over here, attack, move with them, and then start building a base. But it looks like Peka is not interested in any of that base building shenaniganry. There are several areas around the Waterwood that have these items, have these buildings called sanctuaries. These sanctuaries will spawn any number of workers, usually between 2 and 5, based on where the paladin goes. There are quite a number of secrets and story components that are probably not going to be seen up in the middle left-hand portion of the map, and we see that there we go. The paladin goes ahead and secures 2 more individuals from the nearby sanctuary. These workers won't be building too much of anything, I suspect. Rather, they will be moving up, and away. As he moves over to the middle left-hand side of the map, he's probably going to be taking advantage of a river that we're going to go into the all screen to see. You can see that this river right here is a natural path that can go up into this area as follows. The importance of doing this is twofold. One, there is a mage trap up into the normal way. The normal way you progress through this level is to get to this area, you move forward, and then clear a bridge going left. However, Peka is dodging that entirely, and for good reason. Those mages cast slow, and some of them even cast a variant of Fireball. This also drastically reduces the number of units that are in the way, and there, in fact, is one of the mages, actually a dot mage, made for the express purpose. Now we're going to see what the workers are going to do. Are they going to build any buildings, or are they merely being moved up in front? And it looks like right here, they have been moved up in front. One was brought up to the front so that it can tank the fireball from one of these mages, as the other mage went ahead and cast a slow field. But these mages are going to be dealt with in fairly short order. And now it remains, again, to be seen if these workers are going to build anything, or what they're going to do now. There is a portion of the story where if you move up and to the right, you will discover that the mages seem to have some impact or some ability to affect the local wolf population, and they may in fact be building werewolves. But that is neither here nor there. These workers over here are building towers, which is important because there is a trio, or maybe even a quartet, of mages up here in the top left that cast Fireball, which will be extremely damaging to anything that actually hits them. Meanwhile, these workers are up here, killing those, and this tower up here provides a fallback point for the drastically outnumbered forces of the Paladin. And the Paladin has even said much has changed. There's a fantastic amount of story up in the middle left that you can see. For a town, there's some extra places that spawn wolves and can attack you, but Peka isn't worried about any of these attack waves. And notice there, a worker goes up, baits the fireball, baits the slow field, and then pulls back to the tower, at which point all the mages start focusing the tower rather than focusing anything else, and there's a full surround over here on the part of these soldiers. It looks like this is going to be taken down. This mages guild with these couple workers and this archer are going to be more than up to the task, and it remains to be seen what's going to be done on the left. The end of this mission is actually the destruction of all of these mages guilds. There's one over here. I believe there's one over Order 2 on the left, and then there's 1 or 2 over here on the right. It's not even the destruction of the mages, it's of the guilds themselves. And so we move up here and we see, oh look, there are 2 mages guilds, and they're probably going to be taken out, while the main army forces move over here into the left, where there are not 1, not 2, but 3 towers that are waiting and willing and ready to assist in body blocking. Notice also that while the mages guilds have 600 hit points and 1 armor, there's still not too much for these workers. The workers attack at a pretty good rate. This worker is going to go up, probably going to bait a series of fireballs here, and there we go. There's not 1 but 2 fireballs, and the main paladin is going to walk up there. He's taking a lot of damage, but the worker is actually going to be the one that takes the most damage, and it looks like it's just barely going to live. Yes, just barely. 23, 21, very, very few hit points. But the thing is that now the towers are being attacked, and once the towers are being attacked, that means that they don't have to worry about aggro. With both of the mages gone, the mages guilds in the upper left-hand side can now be taken out, while the mages guilds over on the upper right-hand side are being taken out. And it's kind of amazing that he was able to use the units that he started with and move all the way up down this water path rather than take the normal intended path over to the side, which gives me a little bit of time to talk about not only these win conditions, which they'll be done on the upper right-hand side soon and on the left-hand side shortly thereafter, but part of the design of this campaign comes from a personal love of speedrunning. I enjoy speedrunning. I enjoy giving players freedom with how they approach each of the missions. And so that means that there are alternate paths that are put inside of here, not for the purpose of speedrunning, but just to let the players feel like the adventure and the engagement in the campaign is their own. But with the death of these mages guilds, that will be the final portion that is necessary to complete Mission 2, the Waterwood. And onto that, we're going to go on to Mission 3. Yep, I believe that was 505. We'll get to that in a second. Now we're going to go over here to the replays, we're going to load external, and we're again going to load up another one of Peka's replays. This is going to be Mission 3. Mission 3 is going to last a little bit longer, but not too much longer than the previous mission. The antic behind Mission 3 is quite interesting. The story is as follows. After securing the Water Wood, after escaping Red Island Mission 1 and securing the Water Wood over in Mission number 2, our Paladin has managed to get all the way over here and made things pretty comfortable for themselves. They've secured an army and they've gone in for the winter. The problem is, of course, that they need to do more than go in for the winter. They need to be able to take off not one, but two competing forces. The first force is a group of invaders. They are marked by having more upgrades and being more physically powerful. And then there is another group that is up and to the right, and that's the Rebel faction. And the Rebel faction has priests and catapults and other such things. And so there's an interesting balance between upgraded units and increased tech. And while this base is going down over here for Peka, and the Paladin now says the bell tolls Fabius, which is a reference to a famous John Donne poem, which is also one of the three, which is also referenced as one of the three journal notes. He's going up here to deal with these buildings. And why these buildings? Well, there is a partially built workshop, and this says destroying and researching this damaged workshop should give us enough information to build our own, burn it down. You may also be building it because these invader units, these barracks invaders, are constantly building upgraded soldiers and riflemen, not just normal soldiers and archers, that have themselves a couple of upgrades. So getting rid of them right now and very quickly is actually to his benefit. Now, how do you end this mission? Well, it's not as simple as wipe off everything off the face of the map. In fact, there are 2 points that are necessary, and there are only 2 points that prevent loss for both players, and they are as follows. There is the Invader Knight somewhere around here who commands the Invader forces. If he is taken out, then obviously everyone else dies. That's just the way the chain of command works. The same thing for the Rebellious or Treasonous Knight, which is somewhat around this location. And what's interesting is that the Invader forces and the Treasonous forces naturally fight each other. They naturally send units up against one another in the path of where their current units or their opposition are. The reason that this is very important is that thematically it is meant to inspire the idea in you that the invading units are doing something against the treasonous units, and you're up against both of them. So it is a melee à trois. It is an engagement of 3, as it were, but it's a 3-way battle. But one force will definitely, depending on how much time you take or what approach you take, be more threatening than the other. But now Peka has built the ability to construct workshops, and we see that, in fact, that is going on right here. There's a workshop along with a tower, and it seems like Peka is very interested and invested in the idea of making these buildings. It explains why they went up into the left-hand side in the first place to get access to building catapults. All of the ramps that go into this middle section are, again, a reinstatement of the idea that we want the player to be able to decide how they go about their adventure and what paths they take. But this assorted group of forces over here, and of course with the Paladin in the back, he's getting progressively stronger now. He does 5 more damage than a regular soldier, and has 125 more hit points and 2 more armor. He's quite tanky, and he has HP regeneration. But notice that these invader soldiers are a little bit buffed. +1 armor and +2 damage, but the Invader Knight is somewhat up here on the left to this hill, and shortly thereafter, that means that once it's taken out, all of the Invader forces will actually die. They will just lose because the Invader Knight is the only thing that is actually preventing loss. And here he is. He's big and he's strong. You cannot stop what is inevitable, he says. He has 4 armor and 22 damage, so he is actually more threatening than the Paladin himself. But he's going down under small arms fire, and he's actually very, very well upgraded. The problem being that he's not enough. He's not nearly tanky enough, and player computer has been eliminated, that being player 3, the green player. So there are no more Invader Knights on the entire map, and that leaves roughly 2 minutes and 15 seconds for Peka to go ahead and take care of the Treasonous faction. Treasonous faction being the other group on the map that is trying to take him out. He has defeated one of the factions. There are some small touches that were put up here by Xiantaj, by Hobo, by Zhao, and by a slew of other people. Things such as making these abandoned houses look as if they're already destroyed. There are small little farming areas that are set. There are villagers. You may have seen fights of villagers that are resting on their sides to indicate that they are injured. And if we go up here, we will certainly see some more things like that. There are also some units that say, damn it, not now, and spawn as injured soldiers or injured units, which is meant to convey in story terms the idea that the treasonous faction has been dealing with these invaders for quite a while, and the fact that your character has not mentioned anything about them so far somewhat indicates that something is off here. Something to play into for a future campaign, perhaps. Whether these warriors are under Fabius the Traitor or strangers to this land makes no difference. We must take this land from all of them by force, and this is meant to convey the idea that your paladin is actually somewhat of a rude guy. He's got his own plans, as it were. And it's not that he means ill, but in a very kind of almost Fable 3-like fashion, he is not interested in excuses, he just wants results. The first catapult is here, and now you're going up against a combination of priest and catapult. This is the advantage that the treasonous faction has. They do spawn some injured units, but they actually have extremely powerful tech, and it is the combination of the two of them that make both forces powerful in their own right. But now that we have the tech, or Peka rather has the tech, we see the catapults are target firing the catapults themselves, and some of these reinforcements are being taken out. The question now is, what is next to do? What is there to do? Well, the Treasonous Knight is somewhere up here in this area roughly, and that means that in about the next 30 seconds, these units are going to dart in, aggro the Knight, and then pull back to the tower location. In fact, we see the worker right now, the hero worker is going to do exactly that. He dodges catapult shots, and it says right now, now is not the time for differences. You would sacrifice us all for your revenge. And this is, something that has been used very commonly in other games. Yes, I did you wrong, but was it necessarily all that bad? Like, what you're doing is actually worse right now. You shouldn't think about this. He's not as well upgraded as the Invader Knight, and so the Treasonous Knight goes down much more quickly, and that's the end of the third mission. There are also throughout each of these missions, there are a series of journal entries, 3 in each mission to be precise, that give extra story context. But as we're going to have plenty of time to discuss story for easily the longest section of the map, it is placeholder map 4, which is actually campaign map 4. So the story is as follows. After we've escaped from Red Isle and gone to the Waterwood, we've now recovered all of our forces, and we've taken out all of the forces that threatened us between the treasonous faction and the invader faction in Mission 3. So Mission 4, you are now assaulting Fabius' stronghold directly. Fabius is lurking somewhere in the top right-hand portion of the map as a boss fight, and is willing, ready, and able to go to town on you. And the plan is as follows. This is meant to show, not like the King Arthas Warcraft 3-style descent of the Paladin, but just to show that they have gone beyond the point of reasonability. It says the time for words has ended, which is indicated by a number of things. First, you can look at a priest over here who begs that some kind of caution and sparing and caringness and kindness and wholeness of heart be demonstrated by the paladin, but he's not interested in it. He even threatens the priest and says, if you don't get out of my way, I will find a way to make this painful for you immediately. It's clear that revenge is what's on the paladin's mind. And also, what's interesting about this is that all the journal entries show that perhaps the time for words had ended for other people, but it had not ended for whoever the mysterious journal writer is. I will let you go ahead and read all of those. There's a lot of effort that's been put into the story, but the Paladin is now even stronger than he used to be. He is at 300 hit points in comparison to normal 125 hit point soldiers. He has 4 armor instead of 1. He deals 16 damage instead of 9, and he has HP regen. He is quite powerful, quite sturdy, and quite something to be reckoned with. But there is a lot going on in this mission. The way that you end the mission is by defeating Fabius. The problem with defeating Fabius is that this is a full-on castle siege, and as the map designer and someone who was very interested in castle warfare growing up, I took quite a bit of time to make this not realistic, not as difficult as all that, but to make it understandable how just difficult sieging a castle is. You've taken control of the bottom right-hand side, and there are still outlying forces on the bottom left-hand row, like on the bottom and the middle left and bottom left, for you to take out. However, the main gate is extremely powerful. We're looking at something that has 2,400 hit points, and it even, to some extent, has the ability to reinforce itself. There are also towers and catapults that are over here on the high ground, towers that are here, and if you move into this area, there is a giant block of barricaded units with riflemen surrounding them that threaten to cause harm. There are only a couple of ways to get in, and it's basically by sapping the support towers. One of these towers deals with the invisibility detection. Naturally, there is no invisibility detection on the keep's watchtowers here, here, or here. However, you can go ahead and get rid of that by one of these switches up in the top location, such as here. The other one of these switches is responsible for taking care of the main gate. You may notice that the main gate is sitting over here at a very comfortable 2,400 hit points, which means it is indeed extremely strong. Notice that all of these towers over here have detection. Armed from the castle's upper left rampart, these towers have gained the ability to gain the sight to see the invisible. And so taking out all of these is the prerogative of Peka right now. If Peka takes out all of those watchtowers, they can go through the tower, go through the castle, as at the speed that they would like with invisible units. It is meant, just as there are multiple ways to go through all the other missions inside of this campaign, it is meant in this campaign that there are a couple of avenues that you can take. You can try and full force brute force your way through the main gate. You can go ahead and assault a thing that has 2,400 hit points, that takes, has 5 armor each and takes so much time to kill, with towers on the top and towers on the side and units like pre-split over here on the sides to make your life more difficult and barricades up in the front. You can do all of that. There is nothing actually stopping you from doing all of that. And in fact, that is what the avenue that Peka is choosing to take. However, you can also destroy the main gate and then destroy the main gate on the upper right-hand side and use that to send a force of units through. But you won't be besieging the main gate quite as hard. Okay, you can also go to the upper left-hand side and destroy the keep's watchtower's invisibility. With your units being able to be invisible and no longer seen, it is possible you can seek a small strike force through in the 60 seconds that invisibility provides you. It is therefore interesting that the avenue that Peka is taking choosing to take on is one of, I'm going to ignore all of the forces that are over here on the left-hand side, and I'm going to go ahead and assault the keep directly. I felt like using more, ain't worth it. Okay, possible. Not sure what the optimization is there that Peka is talking about, but it's worth mentioning. Here's another little story part. Tell me what you know, priest, and if you plead for the life of the traitor, you will wish my mercy were spent on you instead. The rampart to the left has a switch that will raise the main gate, and the one on the right will turn off the invisibility detection of the keep watchtowers. Please spare the people, do what you must, and then end this bloodshed. And once you get through this area, there is, in fact, still a murder courtyard waiting beyond that, and there are also towers over here, and of course some forces right here that would love to get in charge. But there is also a keep with all 3 journal entries amidst a pile of gold. There are some saved units over here in the upper left-hand side. And, of course, all the way over at the end, waiting for Peka, there is, of course, Fabius. We're going to speed this up ever so slightly, as Peka is in fact taking the opportunity to go ahead and destroy the main gate rather than try and sneak through slippily, just taking a very full force engagement. And it looks like soon enough this castle will actually be destroyed, and there we go. There's the invisibility that has been set up by these priests. The invisibility means that there is now body blocking, and these soldiers will be unable to get through, despite being up a number that is, represents some kind of threat or some potential for damage. They're not going to be doing too much damage at all. Catapults and the priest should be able to make quick work of all of these soldiers, even if one priest is getting a little toasty low in terms of his health. He may even go down, but that's fine. He goes down, and now we see that there is some Q firing here that is most excellent, that is targeting all of these weakened units for the purpose of getting them off the high ground and making these catapults push through successfully. They are now using a little bit of high ground that they have here to kick off some more of the units, and we can see the fortification that is right here. There is no Q firing thus far, but it is perfectly fine, as these fortifications are meant simply to delay. The catapults naturally are attracted to the towers that are over on this location, and they are destroying them as best as they can. Invisibility is being reapplied to these catapults as necessary, as things are being destroyed more and more so. And it's going to take a little bit of time before Peka realizes that these units are destroyed, as we have the vision here that Peka does not. And we can, of course, see that, hey, these units are right here, and they are perfectly fine and serviceable. Cool. Once those units are down, the catapults, in fact, still have vision and still can see. And they have this ability right here because of detection. These towers have the ability to see detection. Turns out it's actually mechanical units in general. With those down, and these units still up, they're now going to move through. And what do they see? Oh, look at that. This next little bit of the fortification, this castle gate, part 2, is going to be a little just about as easy to destroy as the first part. Has the same number of hit points, but it's not going to go down nearly as slowly. There are more catapults here, and all of the forces over here have actually been taken out by catapults in a very, very, very calm and decisive fashion. It is worth mentioning that part of this was also that you can use castles to destroy all of the defenses a little bit more easily. That is also by design, as I wanted people to recognize that this is what catapults are good for. Building catapults and, in fact, using forges were both of which were, those were both optional in the previous mission. You had access to them, but you weren't required to use them, even though that's the strategy that Peka used to go ahead and make something happen out of nothing. Now we're noticing that all of these forges are getting as many upgrades as they possibly can, and we're going to go over here to the existing upgrades and see that there's +4 mech attack, and there's invisibility. And so what does that mean for us? Well, with all of these buildings over here now destroyed, the castle gate is down, the primary castle defenders are down, and it looks like the computer is now revealed in a way that it was not previously. With the computer revealed, we see that all of these buildings over here exist. All of these buildings over here exist. All of these buildings over here and here for the ramparts exist. This was done on purpose. Now a little task force of 2 workers and 2 extremely fast, I might add, workers and 2 priests invisibly slip through all of the murder fortifications and riflemen and special forces and things of that nature, and they're going to go all the way over here, and I suspect that we're going to see them build some of the forces that they need to make the magic happen. Blood and swords cannot mend this broken land like sweat and plowshares can. They can only make way for them. Very astute. Wonder who came up with that. So we see once again the workers and the priests are moving forward. All of these units lack invisibility detection, so they were moving forward quite successfully. And now, I suspect we are going to see these go ahead and start building. It's entirely possible that they start building a workshop, as that would be very, very beneficial, but they may also build towers. Fabius is not actually quite good at interacting with the towers. And frankly, this is one of the things I wanted to see for this entire speed run was, how do you take out Fabius? Because Fabius is somebody who, one of Fabius' strengths is that he has high hit point regeneration. He naturally takes no damage from baseline catapult shots. He is someone who has, pretty good armor, pretty good regeneration, and a slew of abilities. He has the ability to cast Flame Strike to blow some other units away. He can spawn other units to help him. At times he can turn invisible and make more damaging, more dangerous things happen. He also has an Enrage ability that can make him even faster. And you can put these things in combination, so he may become a fast, fireballing, invisible, high attack speed, spawning monster. And that's entirely possible. And also, this is a bit of map design right here. This choke right here is specifically meant for the purpose of stopping workshops from getting through, because, hey, it turns out workshops are a problem for Fabius because they chunk him so hard once there is a certain level of attack upgrade. However, we see that these workshops over here are more than up to the task of cheesing out Fabius. And as they should do, this is a speed run. This was certainly not intended, and it was an oversight of map design, but we're not going to then punish Peka for properly defeating the poor map design. And so what we can expect is as follows. These towers over here have invisibility detection, so they can all see Fabius. These catapults are going to be at +20, doing a ridiculous amount of damage to Fabius. 20 a hit for a unit that has roughly 400 hit points. In fact, if we go over, we can go to 0, and we can see that Fabius does in fact have 450 hit points of 100 and 9 armor. The problem being that that still means that Fabius takes something like 11 shots, 11 damage from each of these catapult shots, and is not quite regenerating as much health as they would like. As these workshops are being built, they are constructing more catapults, and with all of these towers behind, we're going to see, yes, the soldier is going to pull all of these units back, and it's going to pull Fabius and all of these ranged units. Once it manages to pull Fabius and all of these ranged units back over to this location, there's going to be a slew of catapults and a slew of towers doing damage to Fabius, and you can see how dangerous Fabius could be. Look at all of the area of effect damage that he's doing, all of the units that he's spawning. We're going to go ahead and slow this down a little bit. Yep. Look at how much damage Fabius is doing. Look how much he's doing to all these units. He's just blowing them away. Look at all the spawning that's going on. But the catapults are doing their due diligence, and Fabius just is not gaining that much mana. And the problem with Fabius not gaining that much mana is that he's not turning invisible, he's not doing anything cool, and his autocast ability is deliberately designed to go attack the first thing near him that actually fulfills the requirements, and because it is a building that is physically adjacent to him, he is attempting to fireball the building. The problem is that fireballing the building is not the same thing as using it on units that have much lower hit points, and it looks like Fabius, Lord of the Keep, is actually Fabius, Lord of the E2 Brute, and is going to fall here and now. Yep, 1224 and was defeated. So that is a most excellent display over here on part of Peka. 27 minutes and let's say 25 to 27 seconds. That shows that Peka has managed to beat the extant campaign. I am very curious to see if anyone else can beat the campaign, perhaps an improvement on Peka's time or Peka's strategies, and I would love to see what you come up with. I know there are people who are very strong mechanically, and there are also people who enjoy the game on a strategic level. I certainly would love to see what people come up with, and see if perhaps we can't get something like this to, who knows, things like Speed Demos Archive or whatnot, but whether it gets to Speed Demos Archive or not, whether it goes on any other website or not, I think it's worth mentioning that Peka has demonstrated how to beat the campaign in a very fast, very complete speedrun.